I'm back with a brand new chapter, chapter 22. In the old edition, it was chapter 23, okay? So it depends on your book. It's business fluctuations and the theory of aggregate demand. So we've already seen aggregate demand. Now we're going to study it a little bit deeper. First, business fluctuations. Now, in the world, there exists no country, not one, not two, zero country with a GDP increasing eternally. It doesn't exist. The GDP is going to go up, up, up. Once it reaches the maximum, it's going to go down, down, down. And then once it reaches the minimum, it's going to go up again. So these are business fluctuations. Okay. Now, what are the features of business cycles? Before going to that, we need to define it. So I took the definition from your book. So I'm going to read it to you. Business cycles are economy-wide fluctuations in total output, which we calculate using the GDP, income, we've already seen that, and employment. Remember, unemployment rate and employment rate. It lasts from 2 years to 10 years, and it's economy widespread. It's widespread expansions or contractions in most sectors of the economy. Okay? Now, a business cycle is divided into two phases. So you have the expansion, it's when it grows, and the recession, it's when it goes down. So let's see it. So this is figure 22.1 in page 429. Here, imagine this is a recession, and in the green I showed you an expansion. It doesn't have to be equal, it's just because I had a small space to do it. Okay, now the recession is going to go down, 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 down till it reaches its minimum. Okay, once it reaches the minimum, that point here is called a trough. Okay, so it reaches the trough, then it goes up again, up, 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 till it reaches the maximum point. That maximum point is called a peak. Okay, then it's going to go down, 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 and up, 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 up. Okay, the trough of this one is not the trough of this one. The peak of this one is not going to be the peak of the other one. Or if it is, it's out of coincidence. Okay? Now, a recession versus a depression. We all saw actually talked about the depression of the 30s. Okay? The one that Keynes studied in order to come up with his book. Do you remember? That was voted Landmark Employment Act by the Congress, 46. Yeah? Okay, I hope you read your chapters. Okay, so the recession versus a depression. So a recession is smaller than a depression. Okay, a recession lasts from 6 months to a year. It touches some sectors of the economy. A depression is a lot longer and it's wider. It touches all the sectors of the economy. Okay? So, now we're going to see the characteristics of a recession. Well, if you make it longer and wider, it's a depression. So the characteristics, we're going to see them. So what do you think? During a recession, are you going to buy a lot? It's a recession. Well, right now, the world is knowing a recession. The world, all the countries. In Morocco, same thing. So maybe in your head, you're going to think, yeah, people buy a lot of food. Yeah, they do buy a lot of food. But do they buy cars, TVs, tables? No. So even though you buy more food, but you buy a lot less of the other goods. Remember, consumer purchases, it's durable goods, non-durable goods, and services. Do you see anybody going to the mall to play games? No. Do you see anybody investing in cars? No, not now. Everybody's in lockdown. So the consumer purchases are gonna decrease, even though for the food sector, groceries, it's going up. But for the other sectors, it's going a lot down. So consumer purchases decrease. So if consumer purchases decrease, especially for durable goods, so business inventories of durable goods, what are they gonna do? People produced, but nobody's buying, so the inventories are gonna increase. Well, increase, like not be sold. What's gonna happen to the production? You have the inventories, they're huge. So are you gonna produce more? Probably not. So production is gonna decrease. So the quantity produced is gonna decrease. What's gonna happen to your real GDP? You're not producing anymore, not as much. So your real GDP will decline. Okay? So that's consumer purchases. Now let's move to labor. The demand for labor. You're not producing. You don't need people to work because you're not producing, because you're not selling. So the demand for labor will decrease. In your book, they said that it's going to decrease and then it's going to be followed by downsizing. Downsizing. Downsizing means you reduce the size of the firm, you lay off people. Okay? No more work for you guys. Sorry. Yeah, they're not producing. They don't need as many people to stay in the production sector. So what's going to happen to the unemployment rates? People without job within the labor force, which means the unemployment rate is going to increase. Look at what's happening in the US right now, okay? People without a job, even in Morocco. But in the US, it's kind of harsh. Now, they signed a bill so that they give $1,200 for each person in the US. Because they don't have money, they're not working. Okay, so unemployment rate increases. So what's going to happen to the inflation rate? The inflation rate is going to slow, okay? Not that much demand, so the prices, the inflation rate is going to decelerate. So here I'm going to put inflation slows, okay? Now business profits. You're not selling. So what's happening to the business profits? Of course, the business profits are going to decrease. Okay? What about the interest rates? You're in a recession. Are you going to invest? It sounds kind of a bad idea. You're not going to sell. It's not the best time to invest. So the demand for investment decreases, so interest rates are going to decrease. Okay? So these are common characteristics of a recession. Common. Not all recessions are the same, but these are common to all of them. Agreed? Now, in an expansion, you're going to have the contrary. Okay? Let's do it. So I'm going to put it in red, expansion. In green, expansion. In an expansion. So consumer purchases, well, everybody is doing fine, let's buy. Business inventories for durable goods, they're going to decrease because everybody's buying. Production is going to increase because everybody wants the goods. Real GDP is going to increase. The demand for labor is going to increase. So your unemployment rate will decrease. Inflation, a lot of demand. Inflation is going to go up. Okay? Business profits, good. They're going to go up. Interest rates, of course, people are going to be willing to invest, so your interest rates are going to go up. So let me just check. Consumer purchases increase. Business inventories for durable goods decrease. Production increases. Real GDP increases. Demand for labor increases. Unemployment rate decreases because we're hiring more people to produce. Inflation increases, accelerates. Business profits increase, and interest rates increase. Okay? Let me check the time. 10 minutes, 10 or 18? Yeah, 10 minutes. So now I'm gonna move on. Where am I? Yeah, the business fluctuations. Now we're gonna move to the theories, okay? Which is big 2. Big 2. Let me see. Big 2, please give me business cycle theories. Theories. Okay. Now, business cycle theories simply try to find the roots of the business cycle. From where does it come? Okay? So, the first one we're going to see is, I think, exogenous versus internal mechanisms. Okay? So, exogenous theories simply state that the root of the business cycles come from outside the economic system. Okay? So these say the roots from outside the economic system. Okay, think of right now. Did something happen to the economy from within? No, nothing happened. Everything was fine, normal. And then we have a virus. COVID-19. Okay, because of COVID-19, everybody has to stay at home. Because we stay at home, we cannot buy things. Well, we buy the minimum. We cannot buy cars, we cannot do anything that we used to do. That's the normal activity of the economy. So because something happened from outside, a virus is outside the economic system, and it impacted the economic system. So it came from outside, impacted the economic system, and now we are in a recession. That would be prove the exogenous theory that finds roots of business fluctuations come from outside the economic system. Okay? Internal mechanisms, on the other hand, state that the roots of business cycles come from within the economic system. The economic system. Okay? Here in the book, they gave us an example of one theory, that is the multiplier accelerator theory. Okay? Multiplier accelerator theory. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this one. bear with me. So I'm gonna imagine that's time and that's GDP. Okay. Oh, sorry, GDP. Well, I'm looking at it from the production side. Okay. So let's imagine we are in an expansion. So the GDP is going up, 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 up. Okay. So everything looks good. Investors are encouraged to invest because everything is doing fine. So the expansion actually causes more expansion. Okay? So it is increasing, increasing, increasing. But at a certain moment, you're going to reach the maximum, isn't it? Your potential GDP, you can go further, okay? Without, of course, with keeping inflation stable, etc. Okay? So everything is going fine, but you reach the maximum. If you reach the maximum, you're going to stagnate, okay? If you stagnate, investors are going to think, okay, this has been going on for too long. It's stagnating now, so after stagnation, automatically it's going to go down. So some investors are going to get scared because it's not accelerating as much. So they're going to start not investing as much. By not investing as much, they actually push it to decrease, isn't it? So it's going to start decreasing because no more investment. Other investors are going to see that, okay, now it's really decreasing. So they're going to start investing less till it touches everybody. Okay? Then it's going to reach a certain point where investors are going to think, okay, well, things are doing, it has to stop someday, isn't it? So some courageous ones are going to say, hey, why not invest right now? So they start investing, it decelerates this part, okay? Maybe it's going to start to stagnate. By stagnating, it gives a signal to other investors, okay, now it reached the trough, it's only going to go up. So they're going to start investing again. Each investment brings more investment because it encourages the others, etc. Okay? So here, it's from within the economic system. Investors encourage more investments. GDP increases and then it reaches a peak where we reach the full capacity of the economy. It stagnates. Then we go down again. And then when we go down till the trough, we go up again till the peak. Okay? So that's one theory that is called the multiplier accelerator theory. And it says that the roots of the economic system the economic cycle comes from within the economic system. Well, in reality, sometimes it comes from outside, like right now, and sometimes it comes from inside, and maybe a combination of both. Who knows? Okay? Now let's move on with these ones. Multiplier accelerator theory done. Now it's the AD. Now we have demand-induced cycle. Let me just check in the book. Yeah. Exogenous. It's not the same thing. So I'm gonna put here 1 and here 2. I'm sorry guys, I had to check in the book. Am I following the right thing? No, I'm having a different outline. So demand-induced cycles, induced, why this? Induced cycles. Do you hear my neighbor? Well, I have to work, so I can't wait till night. Demand-induced cycles. So, remember the AD? This is Q, this is P, and the demand for consumption plus the demand for investments plus the demand made by the government purchases, and the last one is the demand for net exports. Yeah, we explained this in another chapter. So if you add all of them, this one plus this one, actually plus this one, plus this one, plus this one, it's gonna give you the AD over here, okay? That's your aggregate demand, okay? So we did this before. Now we're gonna see how changes in the demand can actually influence your GDP, your economic cycle. Okay, so I'm gonna redo the graph here. I'm gonna have an AD. I'm gonna have an AS. Okay, right now we're looking at demand-induced cycles. In a chapter later on, we're gonna see supply-induced cycles, okay? So, but today we're focusing on the demand. So here is your equilibrium, macroeconomic equilibrium. This is your QE, which is your real GDP. And this is your PE, which is your price level in the country. Price level. Okay, now let's imagine something happened to your AD, either an increase or a decrease. We're gonna start with an increase. So if AD shifts to the right, which is an increase, what is it gonna do? You're gonna have another equilibrium. So the real GDP is gonna increase in more investments, more labor, etc. But at the same time, there is a fly over here. At the same time, we're gonna have inflation because your prices are gonna go up. Okay? So this business cycle here is gonna happen, this here it's an expansion, it's gonna happen due to the shift in AD. So if you have an increase in aggregate demand, it creates an expansion. Later on, we're going to see why it moves. Now, on the contrary, here was an increase. If something happens to your AD and your AD actually decreases, here is your AD prime, moves to the left, what's going to happen? We're going to have a new macroeconomic equilibrium. Here is your QE second. So the real GDP is going to decrease. And then, at the same time, price at the new equilibrium, price level, is going to decrease. Okay? So here, this is a sign of a recession, isn't it? We have seen the common characteristics. So no more production, you don't need labor, and prices, inflation slows. Okay? So these are demand-induced cycles. And now I'd like you to go to page 434. And you have a table table 22.1 that gives you all the variables that can affect the demand, okay? Table 22.1. I need to erase this in order to explain the table, okay? Oops, don't move, please. I'm still in part, no, now I move to part B. No, there is no part B for me. Well, actually, aggregate demand is in part B here. Aggregate demand and business cycles. So let's put it, I should have put it before. Aggregate demand and business cycles. I should have done it before. Anyway, no problem, it's too late right now. Okay, now we're going to see the variables that influence the demand. Variables influencing the AD. The first one is monetary policy, okay? Monetary policy. So if you loosen the monetary policy, actually, you increase your money supply. What's going to happen? Well, you increase the money supply, people are going to consume more, okay? So let me go to the table. Monetary expansions are going to lower interest rates. So they started with lowering interest rate. Why? You have more money, okay? So you have more money, the supply of money increased. You remember? Here is supply, here is demand. That's your demand, that's your supply. This is only for money. So the supply increases, automatically the price decreases. And what's the price of money? The price of money is the interest rate, okay? So interest rate is going to decrease. If interest rate increases, automatically investment will increase. More investment, shift to the right of the AD, okay? Let me just check. I'm sorry, I can't read with this. So, inducing higher investments, yes, and consumption of durable goods. Yeah, less interest rate, you can borrow money in order to buy a car. You got the idea. Okay, so loosening, expanding the money supply, it's actually shifting the money supply curve to the right, which means it's gonna be over here. Okay, I'm sorry, what am I doing? I'm having a book over here and the board over here. Moving on, fiscal policy. Well, fiscal policy, it's kind of obvious. Fiscal policy. We talked about it in class. If you want to encourage people to invest in a sector, you just tell them, okay, no more taxes for this sector, and they're going to go and invest. So fiscal policy, if you decrease the taxes, tax decrease, you're actually going to encourage both investment and consumption. Okay? So your AD is going to move to the right. In fiscal policy, I'm going to also put tariffs. It's not really, well, it's trade policies, but it's also kind of a tax. So if you decrease if you increase the quotas, that means your net export is going to increase and you're going to shift the demand. Or if you increase the tariffs, so you're not going to import as much, so the net exports are going to push your demand curve to the rise. But be careful with this one, because we said we're not alone in the world. So if we do something to a country, that country can do the same to us. So be careful with that one. Okay, fiscal policy is done. These are policy variables. And then we have exogenous variables, foreign output, So for foreign output here, output growth abroad is going to encourage your net exports. Okay, you can export more because they are growing, they want more goods. So it's going to increase your AD through net exports. Let me see again. Rise in stock markets, that would be asset values. Well, you increase the stock prices. Here, net exports increase. You increase the asset values, stocks that you have, you're going to have more money. If you have more money, you're going to consume more, okay? So consumption will increase because of the wealth, and I think also lower cost of capital, increasing business investments. Okay, asset values, it's going to also give you more investments. Moving on, so asset values, advances in technology, this is obvious, advances in technology. So of course your investments are going to increase. Let me see, the opportunities for investment. So investment is going to increase. They're giving you examples here. They're so easy, so you just read your table. And the last one, let me see, other. Here they're talking about the fall of the communism in the world, because it fell, it gave us new opportunities to invest in those countries. So when China right now is becoming more market economy, so maybe later on we can go and invest in there, okay? New market opportunities. Okay, I think we're done with this. Business cycles and aggregate demand, we saw them. And then we're gonna move to the multiplier model. Okay, I'm gonna do the C+I approach and the SNI approach tomorrow, and leave the multiplier itself to the next week. We don't have any vacations, guys. Sorry for that. I didn't decide it. So we're gonna work. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves, okay? Cheer up.